Good morning. Welcome to the anniversary of the Michigan Energy Summit. I'm so excited to see all of you here. For those of you who don't know me, I am Sherry Holman. I'm the Executive Director of the U.S. Green Building Council of West Michigan, and I'm just excited to be here to celebrate the 6 years of Battle of the Buildings, of tracking energy use in commercial and industrial buildings across the state of Michigan. We've got some great content for you today. We're going to start out with a great keynote speaker. We're going to move into a panel discussion with some green building leaders. We're going to announce the biggest losers of 2019. We're going to give away some cool prizes from our sponsors at Odawa Casino, JW Marriott, the Detroit Lions. So stick around to the end. Make sure that you don't miss that, because we have randomized our attendees for the past 4 weeks, and we're going to figure out who takes those prizes home. Of course, we have the networking and exhibitors. Don't miss that. I want to point out that there's a Q&A on the side there, on the right-hand side of your screen. And so feel free to log your questions in there. If you put them in the event, they'll be seen throughout the event. So they'll be seen, by the exhibitors. So everyone in the event, if you put your question in the stage, it will only be seen on the stage, which is where we are now, is on the stage. And you can see on the left-hand side of your screen how you can navigate through the stage, the networking, and the expo. You can see what's happening now, those red marks that say they're live or now. The expo is open after the event concludes for another half hour, but it's also open all during our time together today. So feel free to jump over there if you want to look into one of the exhibitors. See, what else do well, before we get started, of course, I want to thank our sponsors. They're so important to bringing you the Michigan Energy Summit, bringing you the program every year: Consumers Energy, DTE, Eagle. We can't do this without them, and we appreciate them. I think I've run through everything, and so I'm going to go ahead and introduce our keynote speaker. As the CEO of the U.S. Green Building Council, he may need no introduction to many of you that are on this call. The Usgbc is a leader in sustainable development of our built environment by facilitating the third-party rating system LEED, leadership in energy and environmental design. For those of you who don't know what LEED stands for, they believe in healthy people and healthy places equal a healthy economy. And today, people know that if they're in a LEED certified building, they're using less energy, water, they're avoiding waste, they're saving on their maintenance costs, they're improving indoor air quality, they're offering comfort to their occupants, and they're creating less environmental burden on their community. They also know that they're in a building that enhances their health and wellness. The green building industry has turned into a $1 trillion industry. So I'd like to welcome Mahesh to the stage right now, if you'd like to join me. And I can't wait to hear this presentation. There he is. Hi, welcome, Mahesh.
Hi, Sherry. Thanks for having me. And it's wonderful to be here with all of you. Good morning, everyone. And staying safe and healthy and getting ready for a good celebration for Thanksgiving, in whatever capacity we can celebrate. So I'm thrilled to be here today, of course, to discuss USGBC's vision for scaling up accessible, affordable, and reliable energy systems, and how we are working towards this through market sector tools like LEED, which Sherry nicely introduced, net zero certifications, and PEER. At USGBC, we believe increasing access to affordable and reliable energy is crucial to encouraging smart growth that improves quality of life and ensures community resiliency. And as you know, buildings are responsible for more than 40% of global energy use and 1/3 of greenhouse gas emissions. So we believe that building sector has the largest potential for reducing natural resource depletion and raising the standard of living in our communities. And therefore, it is also uniquely positioned to help drive sustainable, reliable, and resilient power systems. USGBC created LEED more than 20 years ago to measure and define what green building meant and to provide a roadmap for developing sustainable buildings. With LEED, we sought to establish a universally agreed upon holistic system for providing a quality indoor environment, reducing environmental impact, particularly focusing on energy efficiency, and always with the goal of reducing carbon emissions, addressing climate risk, and improving human health. And as Sherry pointed out, today green building has grown into a $1 trillion industry, and LEED has become the most widely used green building program in the world. The numbers speak for themselves. There are currently more than 104,000 registered and certified commercial projects, 2 million residential units participating in LEED across 181 countries and territories. And what's common among all these projects is that each of these projects is using less energy, lowering their carbon footprint, and generating fewer emissions than traditional buildings, both at the design stage and after they are occupied. So LEED established a much needed framework for energy efficiency in buildings and played a large role in driving the building industry to not only become more efficient, but also to adopt renewable energy, start to question where the power comes from, and think about concepts like microgrids. After all, I like to say a building is only as green as the power that goes into it. Starting with a focus on reducing energy demand through guidance related to energy usage and efficiency, and then rewarding renewables, the LEED rating system raises the bar on energy and offers buildings new solutions for achieving their sustainability goals. One of the key ways we have done this is by focusing on existing buildings. At USGBC, we have always believed that increasing energy performance in our existing buildings is crucial to encouraging smart growth. So a few minutes ago, I mentioned buildings are responsible for more than 40% of energy use. But what I did not mention is that the building sector is still not reversing its contribution or showing the necessary improvement to scale this down. As population grows and our building space per capita increases, the relative significance of buildings to climate is only increasing. So the existing building market presents an opportunity to bring our new energy future to reality. Globally, new construction represents still a very small portion of the real estate market. So while moving new buildings to improve their energy efficiency is important, it's not enough. Existing buildings, however, are by far the largest market and one that's increasingly eager to participate in sustainability. And they hold incredible promise, especially with regards to energy efficiency through retrofits. The current global public health crisis has only placed a renewed focus on the need to green existing buildings, whether retrofits to improve energy efficiency and performance, and correspondingly cutting costs to lessen the economic burden a business is feeling, or existing spaces redesigned to support health-centric measures like social distancing and better indoor air quality, or instituting policies to address non-toxic surface cleaning and infection control monitoring, greening our existing buildings will be an integral part of efforts to build back our economy and prepare for a more resilient future. With keen attention to building operations, the efficiency and performance of older buildings can be turned around and drastically improved through implementing the LEED for existing building rating system. In addition to advocating for LEED for existing building rating system, we have also been intensifying our organizational efforts to advance the decarbonization of buildings, grids, and communities by investing our resources and leveraging our tools and technologies towards a positive vision. If you're going to move the needle to tackle climate change, we only have one choice: to set our sights at zero. We believe net zero is a powerful target that will move the entire industry forward. And that's why we launched the LEED Zero certification program, which recognizes projects, LEED projects, at both the building design and construction and operational phase for achieving net zero carbon emissions, energy use, water use, or waste. During the design and construction phase, projects can take advantage of strategies in LEED Zero to ensure they are designed to meet net zero performance targets. And in the operational phase, projects can take advantage of LEED Zero to evaluate and improve on how they are measuring up to net zero targets. So we are covering the whole continuum. So LEED and LEED Zero set the foundation to ensure the next phase of USGBC's efforts will be LEED positive, where buildings are actually generating more energy than they use and removing more carbon than they produce. Now, as you all know, the relationship between buildings and the grid has gotten significantly more complex and continues to evolve. So today's growing demand for electricity, occupied with new technologies and innovations, have brought more choices to the market and more options for buying and using power. No longer electricity is flowing in one direction. Thanks to demand energy response, buildings can be designed to generate their own electricity, store it, and send it to other buildings or even back to the grid. It's a new energy paradigm and is giving designers, facility managers, and owners alike an opportunity to decarbonize their buildings. At USGBC, we see an opportunity for building owners to significantly improve their existing building performance by scaling up their investments in microgrids. And I'll explain how we are working to partner with leaders in the energy sector to help encourage that very shortly. For the last 20 years, our strategy at USGBC for scaling up sustainable, resilient, and reliable energy systems has primarily focused on advocating for the adoption of LEED. But recently, we've also been shifting our strategy to focus on helping address global infrastructure issues by focusing on power systems too. The highly digitalized modern world demands a more reliable grid that can provide quality power to critical infrastructure and facilities. But globally, our infrastructure systems are aging. Our global energy grid is badly in need of investments, often unreliable and currently incapable of taking us to a new energy future, which we desperately need. With an aging infrastructure and growing energy consumption, reliability and power availability will increasingly become an issue. Accessibility to reliable, clean, and affordable electricity is an essential component of quality of life. When power systems fail, lives are immediately interrupted and put at risk. And as climate change continues to result in more severe weather episodes, reliability issues will only increase. So our grid systems must be built on to adapt to withstand severe shocks to the electrical system and ensure our safety and security are not compromised. This means we need to continue to promote resilient energy systems as they, in turn, promote community resilience. Communities all over the world are working to address the reliability and sustainability of our power systems, to modernize and improve electricity infrastructure, to adapt an ever-changing energy market and the growth of renewables, to improve electricity resiliency and to mitigate climate risk by reducing carbon emissions. Of course, these are positive trends, yet they have come unevenly. And there is still much more work to be done to fully modernize our grid and bring about a sustainable transformation of the power sector at scale and realize a new energy future. To grow in a way that is most sustainable and resilient, modernizing our grid and ensuring reliability is essential. And to drive the requisite infrastructure upgrades needed to build resiliency and mitigate the issues caused by climate-related risk, we need to implement private investments and market-based performance tools to drive a cleaner and greener future. So currently, entities all over the world are working to improve existing and construct new grid infrastructure. But while the technology exists to address climate change and ensure power resiliency, grid modernization activities are not occurring rapidly enough to address the challenges we face. USGBC recognized the industry is in need of a tool to help bring about this transformation. We believe the power and electricity sector are at a similar tipping point as the building industry was when we introduced LEED in 1993, in need of a tool that defines a common framework, drives accountability and transparency in grid modernization and development, and provides the catalyst we need for scaling up sustainable power systems. So we decided to partner with leaders in the energy sector and power industry to develop a holistic, simple, and universally applicable tool to support the industry in developing the most reliable, scalable, and resilient grid possible. This tool is the PEER, or the Performance Excellence in Electricity Renewal Rating System. This program was created through more than a decade of work in collaboration with industry leaders and with the support of key partners such as SNC Electric and the Allmon Foundation. By providing a common language for all stakeholders involved in electricity infrastructure and power system improvement and development projects, PEER can drive rapid market transformation for the industry. With PEER, Usgbc aims to support global grid modernization efforts and to inspire, influence, and enable the energy sector to comprehensively address electricity demand, distribution, resiliency, and reliability to provide access to sustainable resources and sources of power for everyone within our generation, and to truly build a real 21st century infrastructure. Our aspiration is, like LEAD, to realize wide-scale adoption of PEER, which will facilitate the construction of modern 21st century infrastructure, and in doing so, reduce global emissions, make our communities more resilient, improve safety and security, create thousands of green jobs, new green jobs probably, and catalyze economic growth at a time when the world needs it most. So how does PEER do this? Modeled after LEAD, it is the first rating system that measures and improves power system performance and electricity infrastructure. It's a metrics-based system that evaluates and verifies a power system's performance across 4 categories: reliability and resiliency, energy efficiency and environment, operations management and safety, and grid services. The rating system can be used by power systems of all sizes, including campuses, even with a single building, to all the way to an IT campus, microgrids, critical infrastructure, an entire city's grid, or a utility territory, and even transit systems. It also works for all types of infrastructure. PEER encourages the adoption of reliable, resilient, and sustainable practices and helps utilities solve aging infrastructure, find cost savings, share best practices, build for resiliency, and enhance tracking to determine and prevent failures. And through certification, PEER recognizes and celebrates industry leaders who are improving their efficiency, day-to-day reliability, and overall efficiency, and who are preparing for severe events such as flooding and hurricanes. A PEER certification signifies that a system is resilient in the face of disasters, reliable in their ability to meet everyday needs, and sustainable in a way that prioritizes efficiency and mitigates the impacts of climate risk. The rating system also values technologies and strategies that enable responsible grid citizenship. Projects are able to demonstrate energy cost savings, as well as reduction in energy waste, interruptions, and emissions through a variety of strategies, including islandability, renewable energy integration, district energy system, distribution automation, undergrounding, energy shortage technologies, load shifting, demand response, and the list goes on. Every PEER certified power system is a mark of leadership and investment in the future. It's a commitment to continuously improving and doing good from a human, environmental, and economic perspective. And I'm really excited to report that PEER is now being applied to infrastructure projects and power systems that serve more than 7 million customers, from institutions like the University of Texas at Austin, to leading hospitals, to transit systems, and city-owned utilities, to microgrids, and even entire cities. PEER is being used to strengthen electricity infrastructure and power systems. And I always like to highlight this story, the story of the New York NYU Langone Medical Center, which has also been on the front line of the COVID response in the city, is an incredible story that demonstrates the value of PEER and how the rating system can be applied to address resiliency and reliability in our community's most critical facilities. After losing power during Superstorm Sandy in 2012, the hospital experienced significant challenges related to its utility services and operations, including having to close its main campus for nearly 2 months. Since then, the hospital has done unbelievable work to prepare the facility to maintain power in future events and protect the patients who depend on them. This included implementing comprehensive adaptation and resilience measures to ensure operational continuity in case of future events. They implemented remarkable floodplain avoidance, undergrounding 100% of power lines, and employing the state-of-the-art operations management and safety procedures. And the result is they have seen impressive outcomes. NYU Langone Center had 0 sustained interruptions in 2017. All 8 buildings on the main campus are now able to withstand a 500-year storm level. And through these efforts, the hospital was able to achieve PEER Platinum certification, the highest level of certification possible with PEER, to become the first project in the world to do so and the first hospital to achieve certification. So now you can understand why we are putting so much focus on resiliency and reliability, because a critical infrastructure like an hospital should be able to withstand any kind of challenges that happens within the community, because it has to protect people. So Peer provided NYU Langone an opportunity to address the effectiveness of their work to date, identify areas of improvement, and benchmark their progress against other world-class campuses. In fact, they themselves have become a new benchmark for the rest of the world. So there are countless other stories like this from LEED and peer projects alike, who through certification are encouraging lasting change in their communities that raises the living standard of the people who these LEED certified buildings and peer certified systems serve. As you know, at the end of the day, I see our work with LEED and peer as fundamentally about people. We believe more than anything else, green building and sustainability, or more resilient power systems for that matter, is really at its heart about people. It's about improving quality of life and making our society not only more sustainable, but more equitable. Because every single human being deserves a safe, affordable, and a healthy place to call home. And a better future requires a universal living standard that leaves no one behind. And we want everyone all over the world to share in that future and have reliable and affordable access to clean energy. It's fundamentally about ensuring healthy people in healthy places in a healthy economy. The energy sector is standing at the edge of a transformation, and I have no doubt in my mind that with the support from the leaders in the market, like those of you here today, that we can transform the market to drive resiliency, reliability, and sustainability for people around the world. Thank you so much.
Hello, Mahesh.
Hi, Gillian.
Thank you so much for that presentation. It was incredible. And thank you for taking the time to talk with us off in Michigan from way out in Washington, D.C. So thank you for the keynote speech. There was a question that really struck home with us, and I was hoping you could help us answer. It says, we, meaning the USGBC, are talking about resiliency with natural disasters and climate change. What about COVID? Are we transitioning resiliency to incorporating pandemic conditions as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's an excellent question, because I always try to figure out what the definition of resilience was. And one of the famous definitions that stuck with me is it's about preparing for the unromantic reality that bad things will happen, right? I mean, that's just it's a common language. It doesn't have the loaded industry language, but it's a very common language saying it's about really being ready for things when they go wrong. And you are prepared to tackle them. You are prepared to address them. I mean, unfortunately, with COVID, we were never ready, right? None of us were ready to tackle it. We are still feeling the pain of it. So what USGBC did was we released the 6 safety first credits in response directly to that. And if you go back and look at online, you will see LEED safety first credits. Otherwise, Gillian and team can definitely share that with everybody. And the idea is to really focus on really the core asset of all the assets that we protect, be it a building, be it an energy system, everything, all that serves people. So we centered this around people. And we absolutely agree that we have to really think about the resilience in terms of environmental resilience, financial resilience, or economic resilience, and most importantly, human resilience. So these cannot go one without the other. They are inextricably tied. And to that extent, what we did is we organized a healthy economy forum in May. And I would encourage people to review the report. And there was even a discussion about actually activating a pandemic mode in a building, so that when you design a building, you can isolate sections of the building, right? Which at this point in time looks like a cool thought, but it's a great afterthought, right? Because if we had it, we would probably quarantine sections of buildings and will still keep it operational. Now, that is very natural for manufacturing facilities. That is very natural for the big powerhouses. There are islandabilities within each of these locations, so you can segment and you can bifurcate and you can prevent people from entering and leaving. But with the building, we always have believed that a building should be a connected space. So in the post-pandemic world, we are thinking about how to activate a pandemic mode. So it's an excellent question, and we have already started the conversation, and we are comprehensively looking at everything we have and trying to embed these 4 things: sustainability, health and wellness, resilience, and equity. Because we believe that these 4 are foundational elements that every system should address, particularly in the midst of this COVID, because we know that so many people are suffering. And absolutely, I agree with it, and that's what we are working towards.
That's a phenomenal answer, and that had not even crossed my mind that a building could have a pandemic mode. That is as you had said, the definition of resiliency would incorporate something like that as such. To transition a bit to another question that had come up, and I'm so tempted to talk deeper about this, but I want to honor the questions that came through.
Sure.
There's a question on materials, right? And I know that's been like LSAs and LCAs have been a topic of discussion lately when it comes to the materials and embedded carbon of your building. And we've been approached here in Michigan a few times about the difference between what concrete can provide and what wood can provide, and that there's been studies showing that concrete can continue to absorb carbon after the fact when wood is resilient in its quickness of sustainable construction. Can you speak a bit to how USGBC National reflects on the materials when it comes into LEED certified buildings?
Absolutely, it's excellent choice, right? So what we did is that when we look at V3, let's look at our journey of materials. When we did LEED version 3, at that time we kind of focused on the attributes of materials, be it recyclability, and we kind of set some artificial, parameters. At that time, based on the technology and knowledge available, it was the most coolest thing to do. Tell people like, okay, if you have a material with 30% recyclable content, it's a great material. But then over a period of time, we wanted to give the designers more flexibility, the manufacturers, particularly the industry like concrete and wood, and there are so many competing innovations that's happening in the marketplace, have them an opportunity to really innovate and really make their products and materials better, right? I mean, so if you really look at 20 years ago to today where we are, every industry has taken a big, bold step in terms of transforming their material side. So what we did is that we gave them the flexibility to create, basically look at the overall building and look at the usage in those buildings and give a lot of flexibility to say to the specifier of what composition of materials that they can use to really optimize that carbon outcome or the emission outcome, or for that matter, the sustainability footprint or the negative footprint of the building. So that was the philosophy. So we moved from an attributes-based cycle to a holistic approach. And we deployed techniques like environmental product declarations, health product declarations, and of course, whole building LCA. And this is very, very successful in LEED. Now, today we are with the 20,000 EPDs already generated, and all the buildings are adopting the whole building life cycle assessment wherever possible. And then they went further beyond with 4.1 to really make more materials available, more products available to be able to implement the sustainable, healthy material vision within those buildings. After all, a building's overall sustainability footprint is significantly contributed by these materials. So the more you can focus on it, it's better. So I think it's working well. And I would say that today, thousands of projects are adopting LEED version 4.1 material credits, even for a V4 project. So it's a good journey that we have done. Now, where are we going with it? With 4.1, we've introduced the embodied carbon framework. So we're asking project teams to focus on embodied carbon. And then on top of it, we have recently established a better materials platform. And the better materials platform is basically providing an opportunity for product manufacturers and project teams to come together with GBCA being the connector, our certification body, to really take those materials in and quickly review them and verify them to provide them a LEED verified status in advance, so that we can avoid all this back and forth that happens between projects and product manufacturers, or GBCA and projects, and sometimes GBCA and product manufacturers. So the triangulation is being circumvented, and we're trying to provide that. So the whole vision is all about trying to simplify and raise visibility amongst product manufacturers on what's working, what's not working, and allowing project teams to search those materials very easily without going through this complexity. So what we have done is that we are going to continue to build on the whole building life cycle assessment. We are going to continue to build on the concepts around, the EPDs and the HPDs, and embodied carbon is an important component, and then continue to have the manufacturers and the project teams raise visibility and transparency, because that's a new way to transform. So this way, ideas like the competing ideas like, innovation A versus innovation B could be easily addressed, because you're kind of going to focus on, okay, what is the total carbon footprint reduced? What is the total energy reduced? What is the total water reduced? When you raise that visibility to the specifier, then project teams have the ability to compare and make the better choice. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create an open system through which knowledge can drive transformation.
I love it. I love it. And that's what the Michigan Energy Summit is all about too. I love how V4 and ARC itself incorporate the transparency and leverage someone to always be able to be performance-based, not just design-based and sit and set, except with the buildings. And what the Michigan Energy Summit does with having this competition is it creates like a bit of a friendly fire into continuing to pay attention to how your building's actually operating. So the competitors in Michigan Battle of the Buildings have just a wide range of where they start and where they end with energy savings opportunities and sustainability efforts. I mean, in the competition, we have nail salons and flower shops. We have big industrial competitors, and we also have the most LEED accredited building as being able to be a part of Battle because that's how much is important to them. And actually, they'll be speaking on the panel to come. So I tell you all this, Mahesh, because on leaving as the keynote, what first steps, what billionth step can folks take to push all of us in the right direction for sustainable buildings?
Yeah, I think the most important thing I would say that is that if you're renting or owning or living in a building, I think you should start demanding to ask for their sustainability footprint, right? I mean, you should become aware. So if you're a consumer, the first thing I would say is that you have to become aware. And the reason that new construction grew very well with LEED, for example, is because occupants demanded it, right? Office people, office goers came back and said, hey, all employees want a good space. They want to be in a healthy space. Or a corporate decision drove the philosophy of, hey, let's embed sustainability in everything we do. So a demand changes everything. We all know that. So as responsible consumers, which we all are, we have to demand that as much as we demand that no added sugars in our nutrition label, that when we go to a grocery store, when we grab it, at least we think about it. Hey, added sugar is not a good thing. Same way, a building that does not have a sustainability footprint has to be asked to make changes, right? That's a great start. But the second one is that I would say, I think it's very easy. We have tools, we have technologies, we have knowledge. So ask about the materials, ask about the indoor air quality, ask about energy efficiency of that building, ask about why that building was designed in a particular way or not a particular way. And last but not least, really ask that how the occupants of that building feel about that building. You know, that's the second step. The third is demand certification, right? Certification is the one way to assure you that when you see the plaque called LEED, or when you see an ARC score, or when you see a material that is cradle to cradle certified or a Green Guard certified, you know that you don't need to go through that analysis of figuring out what it is or what it is not. It should be as simple as that. So look for the seal, look for the plaque, and if the plaque is not visible, do know that that building has to go through a little bit of extra step to prove its value to you. So I think it's time to demand value, to become aware, and most importantly, ask for the things that are out there that you should have access to, because that's how we improve the health and well-being for everybody in this world.
Thank you very much, Mahesh. So with folks who are clearly inspired by the chat going on, by your enthusiasm and your depth of knowledge, where can they go to learn more about what Usgbc National does?
I would say that you go to usgbc.org. That's a great place to start. But in fact, the easiest place to get inspired is to go to livingstandard.org. Go to our place where thousands and thousands of stories are going to be compiled very soon. But as we go, we have already hundreds of stories of people like you who have taken the first step to drive the transformation. And they are now leading the movement, leading their community, and most importantly, help inspire the world to build better and smarter. So I think these are the two places, usgbc.org and livingstandard.org. And you can go to either. And then the most important part is make sure that after you browse the website, you have to make a commitment to add your own story to livingstandard.org in the next 6 months. That's what I would ask everybody to do. Your story must be added.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, can our stories come too? Can we submit our stories as well?
Absolutely, absolutely.
We have to follow Ramesh's call. Let's go. Thank you so much, Mr. Mahesh.
Thank you, Gillian. Thanks to all of you for such a great event today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now, with the parting of our keynote, I'm going to invite our panelists on stage. So this next part of the conversation is going to be Sustainable Construction Panel, with all these 3 buildings have gone deeply into LEED or into sites in some case. So we're going to be inviting Renae Hesselink. She's the Vice President of the Sustainability for Nichols. And Vasquez is the Manager of Engineering Services for the TCF Center in Detroit. And lastly, Zhu has an incredible story. And we're sad to know that Allmon Forrester will not be able to be with us today. However, we're so grateful to have Matt Van Sweden come. He
I'll ask Matt, or did only Gillian freeze? Matt?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. So it was just Gillian. Good.
Can you hear me, see me?
Yes.
We can see you now, ma'am.
This might happen, and I just need you to tell me immediately when I freeze. It's just part of the 2020 world we live in. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of start from the top. Did y'all hear when I introduced you? Good. And so now the first question I was going to direct towards Renae was, what drew your organization to seeking a green building certification, or multiple in Nichols' case?
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I really boiled it down to 4 different reasons that we decided to pursue LEED certification back in 2010 was when we achieved our first certification. Customer demand was one of them. We worked with the, a lot of great organizations and businesses in the West Michigan area, and many of them were heading down the path of building new buildings, and they were going to pursue LEED certification. So we felt if we were going to be working with those customers and perceived as an expert, that we really needed to do that ourselves. So that was one reason. We also saw it as an opportunity to become an industry leader within our own industry as well as the community. At the time, LEED for existing buildings, you were able to get a number of credits related to green cleaning, which is one of the product lines that we sell. So that was another reason. And then, of course, the savings, greenhouse gas emissions, as well as cost savings. So those were the reasons that we pursued LEED back in 2010.
Back in 2010. And were you the head of the green team at Nichols, or who was the team that first got curious?
Yes, right around that same time, we created my role as Vice President of Sustainability. So yes, I headed up the green team and pulled the project together along with outside consulting that we needed to do at the time, because we were not the experts at that time, and still learn today.
Yes, and clearly by Mahesh's keynote, there's always things that we're learning about, and we're evolving as green certifications and as industry overall.
Yeah.
With Al, though, you have an interesting perspective on how your organization was curious on green buildings. Would you care to share?
Sure, I would. Yeah, we started back in '97. It was, I know, Energy Star back then. And we had a sustainable conference here in '98 where we had to be ready. If we were going to have the conference here at our facility, we had to walk the walk. So we went through, did about $25 million in retrofits, most of it lighting. I'm going to go there. Most of it was lighting, and it was serious money, serious dollars taken off all of the utility bills. But you asked why, so we'll go with the whys. It's okay.
Well,
yeah, it was the right thing to do. It's the right thing for the environment and the right thing for the community. But then where all my support comes from is the financial end of things. We get it. We are a state building now, and we're stewards of the taxpayers' dollars. So I've got to save their resources. I want to do that anyway. So by doing that, again, with the lighting, we do a lot with motion sensors, scheduling, and just changing the mindset of our people and our visitors. In the past, when we first began this, It was we would have to get permission to turn things down or to turn things off. You would have to ask for permission to do something like that. So that was not the norm. On was the norm. Today, off is the norm. If you don't get me a schedule ahead of time, if you don't say, I'm truly going to be in this room and the motion sensors don't prove out that you are in that space, stuff stays off. So, and the number, I'll give you the numbers where they went from is back in even 2009, we were operating at about a $20 million a year deficit. I was getting support from the state for us to continue to operate in the tune of $20 million, along with rental and everything that we get here. Well, about 2 years ago, that 20 million went down to zero, and we still are making a profit. So we had a path. We had 10 years that we knew we had to do it in. So we continued to do different EC energy conservation measures, different ways of operating, plus bringing in more customers to where there's only a couple convention centers in the country that can do this. Javits is one, and we're the other, where we actually make money for the state.
Oh my gosh, what a great story, Al.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I'll give you the last thing. Oh gosh, the toys and the tools, both software and hardware. That's why I do it. Is because we get to be on the cutting edge of everything. People like to donate processes and thoughts to us. We test them out, and if they work after a year, we implement them. So that's the part. That's the part I enjoy doing that.
That's so cool. And it really shows like the business case for sustainability. I mean, folks like can make themselves a position with like the money that they save for the company comes back through, but the whole TCF plan was able to continue to have a profit even when, what was it, 20 million? Or was it?
Yes, ma'am. It was 20 million deficit when we took over in 2009.
Wow, that's incredible. And so to keep on the flow of the conversation too, I'm so interested coming back to learning more about this with Jean Balzou, Matt. I mean, this is one of Allmon's big projects, so close to his heart, but you were his right-hand man. So what drew Jean Balzou into being interested in green facilities?
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating story actually, and I'm going to try my best to represent Allmon as best I can, because I passed this question along to him. But he wanted me to share like just some context. The zoo itself is almost 130 years old now, so it's one of the oldest in the country. And its mission is based in conservation, right? So, they have a long history of trying to do the right thing. And they have a lot of kind of firsts, right? Stories to tell. First green roof in 2008. They really got in and reducing water usage, over 75% reduction since 2002. They really invested in geothermal buildings and heating, ushering in a new generation of combustion-free buildings and exhibits. Waste diversion really like focused on that, and over an 80% reduction since 2012. So yeah, I mean, incredible stories, but I think what Allmon was sharing with me is that at a certain point, he just kind of felt just quietly doing the right thing wasn't good enough. I think he wanted to make a little bit of noise and really shake up the marketplace. And he reflecting on the fact that he's got over 500,000 visitors each year, right? And they're all receptive to a story, to a narrative. And he really felt third-party certifications, as Mahesh was saying, is a shortcut to messaging, right? People see these things and they have an understanding or appreciation of what they mean in the marketplace. So, he really wanted to really optimize the impact of this, the time he has with these visitors to tell a really compelling story. So that's where he really stepped in and committed to third-party certifications. So 2018, I think he invited me to kind of work through an owner's project requirement master planning process with him. Mm-hmm. They're a zoo, so they have very unique building typologies, right? And what we quickly realized is LEED isn't always the best fit. So instead of like throwing the baby out with the bathwater, we really tried to figure out what is the right certification standard for his typologies. And so that's kind of what we really identify as a process of evaluation. Sometimes LEED makes sense. Other times, other rating systems like sites or living building challenge make better sense. So really, he's interested in raising awareness for these certifications, raising awareness for these strategies and these technologies. I love what Al was saying earlier about, trying out new things, and if they work, great. He's really kind of committing to be that innovator, that leader in the region to try out new things, so that we're seeing this in project teams, right? The things and the challenges we're wrestling with some of these innovative leading edge standards are really creeping their way into standard practice at the firms that we're working with to do the work. So all that to say, I mean, he's really just driving to create a compelling story and to demand or to drive demand for change.
With you said that you started this conversation in 2018. Mm-hmm. Now we're at the end of 2020 already.
Right.
And so this is a journey, like a marathon. As everybody always says with sustainability, it's a journey. How do you see site certification carrying on with the John Ball Zoo, or how does Allmon envision it? Carrying on for the next couple of years?
I think that's a great question. I think, we all know that sustainability, resilience, these aren't static things. We need to pivot and we need to adapt. And I think part of what Allmon is doing in this space is always asking himself and his teams, what's the thing we need to try for this project? What's the new innovation? What's the story? What's the compelling problem? What's the wicked problem we need to solve? And then from there, identifying projects that can be paired with these through which we resolve them, or trying to work out a solution. So I can't really say like into the future, because I'm not Allmon, right? I don't have this entire master plan, but the projects that we're working on now is this Meerkat exhibit, which was recently finished and is now open to the public, but it's being certified through the sites program, and that's going to be the first zoo exhibit in the country to receive that designation. So he's kind of excited about that, right? He's got an Entry Valley project where we're working through pursuing the Living Building Challenge pilot pedal certification. So he's got a series of major water exhibits coming up, and he's really kind of committing to the water kind of pedal and looking through the lens of these rating systems through the lens of water, to tell a kind of story about those series of exhibits. So, I mean, you'll see that I think the story emerge into the future, specifically around water and rainwater and the importance of water conservation and water as a resource.
Yes, and I did see that in the video that Allmon recently made about the sites project. I think I posted it in the chat for all folks who are interested. But stay here for the conversation, but like footnote that for later on, because Allmon's just like Mahesh, Allmon's inspiring in the way that he tells this narrative. You can tell that he really believes it. And so I want to transition to what each of these projects looked like for each of you folks. You have gone deep into LEED, or in Allmon's case, site certification and potentially pedal. So could you tell us about your projects? What were the details that you were able to focus on? Let's start with Renae.
Sure. We've been at this a long time, and I guess I should explain a little bit about what our building looks like. We're distributors, so we have a big warehouses all over the Midwest, actually, but we focus on our corporate headquarters and distribution center, which is our largest facility in Norton Shores, Michigan. And it's 100,000 square feet of warehouse with a lot of racking, and so a big metal building. So our systems are pretty simple. And the biggest impact that we've been able to make over the years is by upgrading our lighting continuously as technology changes. So when we first, we purchased the building back in, I think it was 2008. And shortly after that, we made a lighting upgrade from metal halide to fluorescent at the time. and immediately saw a 34% reduction in energy use. So that, that was kind of our big step. As technology changed and LED became more affordable, we did an upgrade in the warehouse in 2019 to LED, and then also put sensors at each fixture. So as you drive down, a forklift goes down an aisle, the lights come on. Otherwise, they go off after, there's no motion down that aisle. So, we did that in 2019, at the beginning of 2019. So comparing 2019 to 2018, we, had an additional 12% reduction in our electric. So, but probably the one project that we did a few years ago was automating our intake air, for the warehouse. And we actually made money on that project because of the incentives. And I know people like, well, how did you do that? Well, it paid by the square foot, and we automated that. So we got paid by the square foot from the utility company, and the project cost like $7,000 and we got back $10,000. So, put that into our green revolving fund, and I could, put that towards the next project. She's probably going to ask you.
Yeah, I think she probably will. I see the list.
I was asking, can you hear me, see me? Can you hear me,
now
see
we
me?
do.
Flies, and I'm like, I don't think they can hear me. And as I said that out loud, Renae said, I think she's frozen. Sorry about that, guys. Thank you for your flexibility with this. So Renae, the project that you were creating from over the years, it all was adding up to LEED certification. And what was the biggest portions which you were able to succeed in the categories?
So we achieved, because it was an existing building, we did add new office space, but the majority of the building was existing. So we pursued LEED, I mentioned 2010, we pursued LEED for existing buildings, operations and maintenance, version 2.0, and achieved that back in 2010. Well, with LEED for existing buildings, you have to recertify every 5 years, and now it's 3. So we did recertify in 2015, and I'll talk about what we're doing next with your third question. But, probably I would say the lighting upgrades have made the biggest impact. We have been able to achieve some savings around water, and, we had great recycling programs going on for many years until the recycling market fell apart a couple of years ago. So we're kind of starting from scratch on that again. But yeah, when we recertified in 2015, we got quite a few points for energy conservation.
Yeah, definitely. That's pretty clear by the measures that you've described. Congratulations.
Thanks.
And Al, the TCF Center is just this huge and beautiful building with so much complexities. How do you even tackle a project so huge like this?
One bite at a time. No, serious. And I guess what you have to have in place is you have to have the monitoring in place. We, as big as we are, we're nearly 3 million square feet. 100 meeting rooms, the 60,000 foot ballroom, 80 dock spaces, and then my exhibit halls. But I can see every single watt of energy in real time that comes into this building. I've got 17 substations that have multiple feeders on them. So on one of these, you can't see all my screens that are up on the walls here. We are watching everything in real time. So I guess you can't just do the energy conservation measure and hope it continues to go. you have to always be watching it and monitoring, or else you will get slippage. You'll do great the first year, and then it'll start to lose its savings. So by adding the monitoring for everything, we do reports every week. We report to the board. We're speaking to you here, and I'm watching at another screen over there. The board is watching the numbers that we gave to them to see, are we still doing our job, even during COVID right now? Because some of the things we spoke about, we were able to section up our building so that the things we got going on right now is I have a hospital in the building. Luckily, it's on pause. So a 1,000-bed hospital. We are right now feeding the homeless in another section of the building because, again, these times created more of them. There's a greater need for that. And then in another part of the building, we've got something called Patel, who is they are reconditioning PPE or face masks. There weren't enough of them to go around, so we gave them a space where we use vaporized hydrogen peroxide in order to recondition the mask and send them out to about 586 different venues, hospitals, dentists, and people like that. So and everyone's a little afraid to be next to the other one, but we've created negative pressures in all the spaces where it's very safe. You can walk near it, you can walk around it, and those things that you're afraid of can't reach out and get to you. And at the same time, do it energy efficient. So yeah, that was a tangent, but yeah.
No, I love that. I love that.
And we had to find something because there are no events right now. Unfortunately, all of my events canceled. I don't have anything through April. No auto show, no boat show, Umacon, all the cool things. Yeah. So we found a way to be useful, and at the same time, last is because I have an almost empty building, except for those things we talked about. We're using this time to be extremely productive with our capital teams in doing things that normally would take 5 years stretched out working around my customers. Now that I don't necessarily have the customers, we're getting them done in about 1 or 1.5 years. So we're going to be better energy-wise and tight when this pandemic is over than we went going into it.
Way to be like a good corporate citizen, and also to be like good stewards of like money and time. That's very opportunistic of you to take this opportunity to do such. What sort of capital not campaigns, but capital projects are you working on right now?
The last part you said?
What sort of projects are you working on right now?
Oh, okay. So there we go. And no, it's not little things. And it wouldn't mean much to you, but I'm doing like expansion joints on the roof. My roof, where I have 12,000 Parkers up there, it at time leaks down into the lower space. So now's a great time where I only have the hospital in one of the big halls and another group in another hall. I can work over the halls that are open, jackhammer them, replace the expansion joints, add insulation, and then obviously we're putting in all the speed drives, extra insulation, generation. I've got 2 generations with a sync bus, 5 megawatt generators, and all the switch gear that we're getting to replace. Because the other thing that he spoke of earlier was reliability. We're now fed from 3 different sources, and if I lose any 1 or 2 or even 3 of them, we can sync it up where my hospital doesn't lose more than 2 seconds at the top. I will blink them for about 2 seconds, then we're back up and running again. So that kind of stuff.
That kind of stuff. Yeah, that kind of stuff. What a resilient, amazing building. And again, just so much respect to the TCF Center to be able to be corporate citizens at this hard time for everybody. And Matt, with the interesting project of Meerkat specifically, right? The Meerkat exhibit? Is that what we're talking about today? Because you can tell me all about John Ball Zoo, but I think that the Meerkat exhibit's the one who's recently got the site certification. Is that correct?
Kind of, almost. I just want to first say, like, Al, I know you say your cool events aren't happening, but I have to say what you're currently doing in your space is it's pretty cool.
I agree.
So kudos to you. I think that's amazing. But to answer your question, Gillian, the Meerkat exhibit, we're working on finalizing the certification documentation. So it's not quite, it's almost there yet, but we're hoping to finish that yet this year. And I think that that's a pretty, one of the most complete projects that I was working with Allmon. So yeah, I was planning on speaking to it. The reason why we selected sites apart from LEED, or rather than LEED, I should say, is because, I mean, really the project is a Meerkat exhibit, right, with a small holding facility. And when we're talking about LEED and it is human-centered in its basis or its philosophy, it's really hard to apply it to such a project. There's a lot of things that didn't quite fit. And so when we were exploring all the different rating systems, third-party rating systems that are on the market, we really kind of fell in love with sites because it is so much better aligned with the typology of the exhibit itself. And we started using the language around stakeholders and kind of mapping who the project will impact and designing strategies and solutions around that. And what was interesting that came out of that is we started viewing the animals themselves as stakeholders. We wanted to give them agency and empower spaces for them, you know, on their behalf. So we really dialed in that idea in kind of like the human-centered notion of LEED. We tried to apply it through the lens of the animals occupying these exhibits, right? But that was really kind of fascinating. We learned lots about meerkats, and we had to design solutions into the meerkat exhibit that highlighted, like, for example, meerkats are extremely social. So the zoo has this huge bubble that you could climb in and pop your head up, and then you're in the middle of the exhibit with all these meerkats. They're doing all the things, and you can kind of see the social interaction. In addition to that, we realized that it kind of was only serving able-bodied folks. So we made a slight tweak to it to allow folks in wheelchairs or have difficulty with mobility to kind of have access to that same experience. So, I mean, those are sort of the things that the site's rating system allowed us to do simply because it was asking the right questions. In addition to that, you know, we really had a big focus on plantings, the native landscapes. And I connected Allmon to the Plaster Creek Stewarts, mostly because they just put in a rain garden in my front yard. But got to know the director there, and she actually goes out off season and hikes and collects native seeds from all over Michigan and cultivates those specific varieties that have been around for millions of years, right? And so she has a whole greenhouse of really native, not like pre-colonial native species. And so we really wanted to kind of support that. And again, to Allmon's point about telling stories, right? And so the sites kind of gave a messaging platform to kind of help tell that story as well. So Plaster Creek Stewarts provided all the natives for our landscape. So that was a pretty cool story. I mentioned geothermal, right? So this is a non-combustion building, so all the energy is provided by clean, renewable energy sources. And really, it was about telling that story. So we did all that. We probably would have done most of that without it, right? But sites allowed the story to be packaged in a way that is really meaningful to the quick kind of touch points that the 500,000 visitors have to the exhibit a year.
That's wonderful. And for folks in the call, if any of you have had the opportunity to visit John Ball and see it, let us know what you thought. We're transitioning to the point where we're offering questions to be answered from the audience. So if you have questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. I'm really curious, while Renae is doing just what I did and she's coming back in, how do you see the future of green building construction operation in your future and perhaps in the future of your industry? Let's talk about that, starting with Al.
All right. Absolutely one of the top priorities before we do any projects. We will spend money to save operational costs further down the road. We absolutely, we will invest our capital in things like that. And I guess then but we still have to balance it with the community in this way. We could, if we had our own boiler plant, we could produce it cheaper than what we're buying it for. But if I took our load off of that system, then that burden would be on a bunch of the smaller business owners. So we're willing to almost supplement it a little bit. A lot goes into deciding what we're going to do, and always, energy is one of the main considerations going forward. Operations.
Love it. And Renae, what about you?
I had to jump off and get back on. So what was the question?
I'm so sorry about that. Thank you for coming back. It says, how do you see the future of green building construction operations in your future and perhaps in the future of your industry?
Okay. Well, we belong to a industry group that is setting the stage for the rest of our industry, and we've been a member of that. We were a pilot member probably 4 years ago or so. So we have seen a lot of progress in our industry and people join that program. So that's exciting. I couldn't even tell you how many square feet of buildings our industry owns across the country, but it's a pretty large industry. So the future of green buildings, I mentioned that we have to recertify when we're doing LEED for operations and maintenance every 5 years. And so we are almost to the point where we're submitting our LEED version 4.1 for O&M. I've got the air quality testing being done tomorrow. And then hopefully in a week or so, we're all ready to submit. We had, got all of our data into ARC, and we've done our surveys and things. So I think we're pretty close to being able to submit. So hopefully we'll have something to celebrate in another month or so. But just to share, on energy savings, I like to share this with our associates that we're cost avoiding about $30,000 a year just in our energy savings. So, that may not sound much to like Al with his $20 million budget or deficit, but, for a company our size, $30,000 a year isn't too bad. And now Gillian's frozen.
I guess that just leaves you, Matt, now.
Yes, your turn, Matt.
Awesome. I think what's interesting about working with Allmon and the zoo is they're focused right now, and they're looking to really stretch the marketplace. We already talked about sites, but I mentioned the water exhibits that are coming online, and we're going to try to be one of the first living building challenge projects in our region, and I think that's going to be pretty transformative. And we're working towards that. Obviously, there's a couple year timeline yet, but when I posted this question to Allmon, I think for some context first, when I'm talking about the future of the green building industry, I often bring up the slide of the atmospheric CO2 concentrations over the last 800,000 years. And there's like this really kind of consistent ebb and flow, and it has this range that's relatively normalized. And then you see the Industrial Revolution and this really sharp uptick. That's the hockey puck. And we're currently way outside of normal concentrations in atmospheric CO2. And so what I like to say with that is simply doing like zero, if we just even stabilize that point and don't add, we're still way outside the normal. So what I like to say is we need a reverse. We need a way to restore and get back into a normal atmospheric concentration. And so really it's about carbon. It's really about carbon positive solutions. So when I was talking with Allmon about this, he answered this question with his own question, and he wanted people to imagine what a carbon positive zoo might look like. And his trailer with that is maybe someday soon we'll find out. So I'll kind of leave you with all that of a cliffhanger.
Oh, I love that. I miss Allmon. That's wonderful. And I'm sure we're gonna send him this recording too, so he can see what this discussion was like. So, audience, if you have questions, go ahead and put them in. But I'm curious a little bit more, Renae. And you had mentioned ARC, and that's been like a relatively newish thing in the grand scheme of LEED. How's been your experience with it?
It takes time,
Yeah.
but it's pretty close to looking like Energy Star, which we've used for years. So, other than the time involved in loading your data, which you can, we've got it connected to Energy Star now. So we keep up Energy Star because we're also pursuing Energy Star certification with this. So it hasn't been, it hasn't been overwhelming by any means.
Good. That's great. And I'm sure that if folks are more interested in learning about how ARC would pertain to their particular projects, you can go ahead and take a look on the websites that Mahesh had offered. And of course, as always, I'm happy to connect you with something, and any of these three know about ARC too. But folks, your projects are so diverse in their own aspects, and I'm just wondering what has been the most challenging aspect of your project, or maybe even perhaps the most rewarding. Would you care to share, Al?
We just only touched on it. It was attitudes. It was getting people to buy in. And so we'll tell them what we're thinking, why we're thinking that there might it'll be a little bit of discomfort, but not so much discomfort, just different. It'll be a little different. But if we can get buy-in up front, and then it just makes the project go smoother and long-lasting. It doesn't tail off. And in fact, with the millennials that we have now, it snowballs. It gets bigger. They get excited. They want to do things. They probably want to put goats on my roofs and grass and stuff like that. Well, and I do have a green roof. I do have one of those. And we were, for a period of time, we were looking at that we were going to sell our product in like some major chain supermarkets around here. So we were working at and we're not done. We're looking at things like that. It was either that or wind was going to get that roof, but it's probably going to still go green, where we will take the product. Right now I take the herbs and things that we planted up there, and we use them in our kitchens, and we serve it to our customers out here. But the surplus was going to be enough, because my roofs are pretty big, that it was going to go to a couple major chains here in Michigan. So we're not done with that one yet. But again, it's all about getting attitudes, and we've been doing this long enough that the snowball is getting huge, and it's not so hard anymore. In fact, it's pretty easy.
That's right. It's not so hard. It's pretty easy. I like that attitude, Al.
Yes.
As a fellow millennial, I have to ask, do anybody suggest putting beehives on the roof?
I have beehives on my roof. It's called Bees in the D. Yes, they are right next to my herb garden, so they help pollinate it. Yeah, they're already up there.
Oh my gosh. And so the beekeepers, is that like a part of the facilities team? Like, what does that look like?
So I have one they'll come in, check it at the beginning of the season. Maybe if I lose a queen or two, might have to repopulate it a little bit. But we do have Miss Hess. She's over there. Now you can't see her. Here she comes. She bought to the end where she's got her little beekeeper suit, and she loves doing it here so much that she put in beehives at her home in her big backyard also.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Okay, good question. Like, can I come? Can I come and see this? Do you do tours?
Yes, we will do tours. Yes, ma'am.
Right. Oh, I had seen that you had done a virtual tour, but when we're able to eventually meet in person again one day, you do tours of the center.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, sign me up, and when that's first available, I'm gonna give you a call, Al.
And
also to see the John Ball Zoo. So, what's been the most exciting part of that project for you? And Allmon, of course.
Right. I'm really trying to represent Allmon as best I can here. And like knowing him and what I've learned from him over the years is I think he really, he's motivated by doing things that others haven't done before. And I think that's kind of like the answer to both questions, right? The most challenging is doing things that don't have time-tested kind of things that you can look back on and be like, yeah, that's a proven technology, or we know this works because we've always done it. And so always kind of moving the needle. I mean, he's the director of facilities at the zoo, so he's in charge of making sure, like, after these things get built and installed, they keep working. And so he gives himself no small amount of like heartache, I'm sure, after the fact, because he's trying to do all these new innovative things. But I think at the end of the day, that's also what drives him, because he's looking at that impact. You know, Al, you shared that story about your apiary on your roof, right? And then folks from your staff are taking that home and doing it where they are, right? Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, Allmon's drive too, is he's trying to do these things, and not necessarily to say, hey, look at me, I'm doing this cool stuff, but to say, hey, look, we can do these cool things, do it where you are. And then helping, you know, he's investing no shortage of dollars into professionals that are working alongside him, and then they all take it with their practice, right? And then they can take this information and apply it to their next project. So really, like, the ripple effect, the impact that he's trying to have, I think he just has no small amount of just pride in being able to facilitate that.
Absolutely. It seems like whenever I've interacted with Allmon, it seems like there's like a humble ambition to be contagious with these sorts of good ideas, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Contagion may be the word he'd use right now.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. And Renae, cleaning products, off that note, are very important right now, especially. What have been the most challenging and exciting parts of the project you've been working on at Nichols? Oh gosh, am I frozen? Oh, Renae is frozen.
Okay. Repeat the question.
Okay, I'm sorry, Renae. I was just asking. I had said that, you know, bridging off of that, in 2020, you know, cleaning products are very necessary. So what have been the most rewarding and challenging parts of projects that you've been working on at Nichols?
Like both Matt and Al said, I think the people, you know, our associates are constantly talking about things that they've learned at work that they take home and then do at home. So that's pretty exciting. I don't know how many I've had tell me that, you know, they've now recycling at home, or they're being, you know, conscious about their energy usage and tracking all those things. So I think that's pretty exciting. On the, you know, that can be challenging too, though, because we have been at it so long that, you know, it takes some work to keep people engaged. And we just recently launched our engagement dashboard, which will be on our website soon. But, you know, our associates can see where we're at with ARC and, you know, sustainability efforts almost real time now. So we're looking forward to get that up on our website too, so that everyone can see it. We'll share that with others. Being transparent.
Yeah, and, you know, being transparent is being willing to be held accountable to the goals that you have too. And I applaud all of you. I'm not frozen, am I?
No.
Okay. No, I applaud all of you for setting an example all across Michigan to be able to do this good work. I'm gonna transition folks to the next part of our summit today, which is going to be reflections on the Battle of the Buildings and prizes to who the winners are, because, you know, that's always the most exciting part. And also, of course, we have big prizes to be giving away too to folks who've been participating all this virtual summit. So I also, again, hope I'm not frozen. I'm going to continue on with thank you, folks. And Matt, Renae, and Al, if there's links or resources that you would encourage people to go take a look at, please put them in the chat. And now I'm going to invite the Executive Director of the Usgbc of West Michigan to take stage. And I'm going to wish the panelists a good day. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, guys. That was awesome.
was. It was phenomenal. Yeah, great, aren't they?
Yeah, that was a really cool conversation and some amazing things happening. TCF Center and the zoo and Nichols, Nichols historically been a green building leader in and actually Renae sits on our board. So yeah, we go way back. You know what, Gillian, though? I just got to say, you're awesome. All the freezing, you handle it so eloquently. And I hope I can handle it in this next piece as well when you go away from what we have planned. But
I wonder if I need to get another ice pack for the computer. And folks on the call, I know that there's been some challenges working with Hopin and these new virtual summits. Thank you so much for staying with us and being resilient with resilient with the punches on these technical challenges. We really appreciate interacting with all of you, even if we aren't able to see your faces. And just like as Dave Hines had said, we do miss you guys too, and we're looking forward to the time where we can be with each other safely.
For sure. I love that the comments that are going on in the chat, because, you know, I've always thought of us as a battle family, right? And like any family, we have new additions every year and the family just keeps growing. But some of the competitors have been around since we created the competition in 2014. They don't win every year. Some of them, you know, have won more than once, but you know, they continue to participate. They continue to share stories. They develop relationships between themselves. They find new vendors and our exhibitors. And it's just, yeah, it makes my heart's really warm right now. I wish we could be together in real life. And I hope next year that we can be. So I'm going to share with you some of the impacts. One of my favorite parts of what I get to talk about every year is what everyone has accomplished, all of you, and how we're, well, let's see here. How do I, okay, sorry. I gotta make sure that that I can handle this 2-screen thing.
You got it, girl.
So, before we get started, though, I just want to point out our upcoming events. So we're having a little Afterglow series. This might be the last in our series of the Michigan Energy Summit for the last 5 weeks, but we will take a deeper dive and do this Afterglow series on December 3rd. We're going to take a deep dive into Consumers Energy Net Zero Energy Program. That's something that we talked about on the first session 5 weeks ago, and we'll talk more about that on December 3rd. Also on January 7th, retro commissioning, a deep dive with Consumers Energy. If this is a program you've looked at before or been involved with before, there are updates, there are changes. So check that out, see what's available. We're gonna have our annual meeting on January 21st. And we're working really hard to figure out how to do a really awesome networking thing because we wanna be together. So hit us up on that, and we hope we'll see you on January 21st. We haven't determined the time yet on that. And then on February 11th, we're going to take a deeper dive into the Zero Cities project that we talked about 2 or 3 weeks ago on the summit. And Allison will be there. We'll talk about the feedback forum that we're going to be doing over the next year to get opinions and ideas about how we can get our city to carbon neutrality. So just under 232 million square feet participated in the 2019 competition. So, altogether, our competitors reduced a whopping 64,000 metric tons of carbon equivalent just during 2019. So that number doesn't mean a whole lot unless you put it into context. It's equivalent to the electricity use in homes, in 10,900 homes. That's more homes that are in some of Michigan's small cities. 84,000 acres of US forests and 8.2 billion number of smartphones charged. That's more than the amount of people that live on Earth. So that's a lot of carbon. You guys are doing great. This is the number everybody loves. What have our competitors saved in 2019? $10.6 million. That's money that's going back into their businesses and back into the community. So that's the best number we've had in 1 year so far in the competition. So when we take all that together for the last 6 years, we're looking at 200,000 metric tons of carbon that is not in the atmosphere here in Michigan. We're doing our part across the country to lower carbon emissions. That, again, giving you an equivalent, 43,000 passenger vehicles driven in 1 year. Imagine if we could take 43,000 cars off the road. Boy, it sure would be a lot easier to drive to work and back if we didn't have those extra cars on the road. And then when we add it all together so far over the life of the competition this last 6 years, we have seen our competitors save $24.7 million. So I don't want anyone to forget about our exhibit hall that's happening right now and for half hour after we end today. These exhibitors can help you with technologies and services. They are leaders and they can continue to help you raise the bar and work towards your high performance building operation. So don't miss them. I mentioned this in the beginning of the day. I can't mention it enough. The sponsors are the reason we exist. And they don't just help us financially, they partner with us. They partner with you. They help competitors. They advocate for energy efficiency and carbon reduction in our state. So thank you to each one of you for making Battle possible and for continuing the excellent work that you do to help us save energy, help us reduce carbon in the state of Michigan. So we're going to jump into the awards piece. And, you know, I looked around for, I wish I would have a little drum so we can do drum rolls. I did grab a couple of like my salt and pepper shakers.
Oh my God. You're so cute.
Oh, so without further ado, we're going to announce these biggest losers. And as we do, we're going to share with you a little bit of their story. But I want to make sure that you all know that in the Michigan Battle of the Building exhibitor booth, we have videos, short videos, 2 minutes each, of each one of these awardees. And they tell their story. They show their buildings, so don't miss those. There's actually this really cool video there too, where they're doing a passing of the award TikTok style.
Yeah, very millennial. The TikTok, you know,
Right.
It's cheesy, adorable. We love it. So go check it out.
Yeah, for sure. So those are there for you to view. We're sorry we couldn't play them today, but as our new world, it is really difficult to play videos online and have it come to you in a way that plays nicely. So shall we do it?
Shall we tell about the biggest losers, the winners? Well, I mean, come on, everyone's a winner because you're losing your energy, but there's been the biggest losers of each category. So
the biggest losers of the losers, right?
The biggest losers of the losers. So like we're like a little drum roll. I expect some of you to be doing a drum roll in your own take sense for yourself. You know what I mean?
So, all right. Let me advance some slides here.
The education category.
Yeah.
West Ottawa Lakes Elementary, huh?
Yeah. 29.57 reduction at Great Lakes Elementary. And, you know, their story is pretty cool. They got a bond, I think in 2014, 2015. Check the video for that. You know, they did some controls work so that they can manage the building from their iPad.
Yeah. Very important right now in 2020, huh?
Yeah. No kidding. And what a time saver from facility technicians having to run from building to building or one end to the next to address concerns. They can keep their finger on the pulse of what's going on in their building in real time. They saved $25,000
Wow.
in this project. And
I love
why
how
is it
Jeff,
so much important? Yeah.
I love how Jeff, the assistant manager, the assistant superintendent, had said that the reason why they started with this is because it is all about the kids. Because the money that they're saving on operations, they're able to put back into the actual mission of it all. The video really warming. Jeff did a great job. Check it out.
Absolutely.
And next in the entertainment category, we got Sanchez Bistro, 11% reduction. I love their food there. You're such a fan of tapas, aren't you?
I am a fan of tapas, and I think that's where I took the staff for our Christmas party last year, didn't we?
Oh yes, thank you. Thank you. I loved the ambiance there. They really take pride in that, and also the green team is the reason why they were able to get this reduction in the first place. The Salsa Verde team. I think it was that the Salsa Verde team first went through an energy audit with the energy assistance program that we have here at the Usgbc, which is just phenomenal, right? Because it just proves that you don't know what you don't know until you go to find out what to monitor, right? Mm-hmm. And so after the audit, they were able to replace their AC, they were able to adjust scheduling and Wi-Fi programmable thermostats, and Consumers Energy had given them some LED light bulbs to help a lot. The thing about this one is that they never have to really heat their space because they have this like open wafting kitchen that brings the smell of the food out to you. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
But this
I think the way these guys too. I remember when they first got involved in Battle, it was one of the wait staff.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the owner that came to us first, although the owner is heavily involved as well. But it's like a whole culture over there.
It is, and it's great positive reinforcement to the Salsa Verde team too, to see this sort of reduction and savings that can go right back into the restaurant, which they all are part of.
Yeah. So our financial category winner with a 16% reduction this year is Comerica out of Midland. This isn't the first Comerica building to win Battle of the Buildings. There's been others along the way. They have a really unique partnership with CBRE, and that's their building manager. And together they work, to find these energy savings, and they achieved a 16% reduction due to just HVAC equipment tweaks, thermostat replacement, light sensors, LED lighting reductions, so a host of things.
What I really caught from what Jen had put it as when she was talking was that this is like the long game that CBRE is taking Comerica on to get their 50% reductions in greenhouse gas emissions by 2025, and then 100% eventually by 2050. You'll see throughout this that everyone has their own reasons for pursuing energy efficiency. And if Comerica is able to do this with CBRE, congratulations. The University of Michigan has won the health category for the medical science research building. 33%. That I love that picture. I miss the leaves already. What I found really cool about this one, Sherry, is that sure they had a large LED upgrade, which is amazing, and congratulations. But did you catch that they had a steam absorption cooling conversion to electrical centrifugal chilled water plant? That's quite an unusual way to go about it, right?
Yeah, they do awesome stuff over there. And, it's really interesting that every year, it's a whole culture. Again, like we can say this over and over. Every year when they do win in one of their buildings, they request an extra award because they put one in their awards cabinet and then they put one in the building so that the students and anyone that comes into that building can, see what they're doing, be proud of the work that they're doing to accomplish their goals.
Yes, exactly. And congratulations again to the Medical Health Building, U of M. This one, hospitals, they won 9% reduction last year in 2019. And if you can take a look at the next building, you'll be able to see the building that they're serving us folks in right now. So really all I have to say about this is that thank you so much to the frontline workers of the hospital, of this hospital, but also anybody on the call who knows a frontline worker or is a frontline worker. We're really thankful to what you're doing for our community, and please stay safe out there.
Please. Thank you. Shape Corporation, with a 25% reduction this year. This building, I believe, is in Grand Haven. And the maintenance manager, Matt, there said he was talking about the strategy that they had that was different than some of the other things that I've heard, where instead of doing a capital improvement and switching all their lighting over to LED, instead they're replacing fixtures as their old fixtures wear out. And so they're just kind of proving that you don't necessarily have to do it all at once, right? You can go ahead and live out the life of your current product, and when it's time to replace it, then, then take that step to upgrade.
And Shape Corp also took care to make sure that they were repairing compressed air leaks too. That can be literally an invisible nightmare.
It can. If you're walking around through your facility and you hear psst, you better be looking for leaks because they waste a ton of energy. And I think there's another battle player who also addresses compressed air in their building.
Exactly. That's quite a theme throughout this particular competition this year, is that the compressed air leaks. You'll see more about those. Actually, in the GM manufacturing, they won for 34.4% reductions at a per widget category that we've had. So this is the biggest loser of all this year. Take a look at their building. Gorgeous, gorgeous. So this is all around the clock. They produce 400,000 parts a day around the clock. And so what had really hit home for me is that they need to be careful about what the in and out, because it's constantly moving. When you're talking about product, waste streams, energy management. Did you catch anything else about it?
One of the things that I caught about GM, and first of all, let me just say that they represent a ton of square feet in our state. Nice. So the fact that, it's important to them to reduce energy, to be better stewards of our environment is huge. And it reminds me too that Ovelio, who works for GM, actually donated his time to together with Kevin at FCA Chrysler to help us develop the per widget category that we launched last year. So thanks to GM and to Ovelio and Kevin and FCA Chrysler for doing that. It's cool to have a category like that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, multifamily River House condos. This isn't their first time in the winner's circle either, but it's an iconic building in downtown Grand Rapids. Anybody who's ever even driven through the city has probably seen this building. It's interesting because not long after it was built, they actually had a group of Ferris State University students who came through and did an audit and uncovered, some issues that they worked on. It just kind of proved that it doesn't matter if it's a brand new building. There could still be technology advancements that have come along even since that building was constructed. Yeah. So you never stop looking.
Yeah, this particular project, I believe that the Ferris University students found out that the hallways and the stairwells, the tall stairwells, were quite overlit, and they had old technology. And you never know who your local champion will be, right? It seems very clear that overall the management company cares, but also the residents inside care, and that always will make a big difference.
They do, and it was actually a resident who first got the building involved in battle. And even though he's no longer there, it's now another resident who's championing again. So, the residents are on board, and they talked about this a little bit too during the session is communication, right? And change, and just getting everyone in your building, your workplace, what have you, whatever kind of space you're dealing with, getting everyone involved. It's so important to your end goal that everyone that uses the space knows what the priority is, knows what they can do to help, because people want to help. So another U of M wins our first place award for the Alphas category, and that is the Ingalls building. And I wanted to talk just for a second about they have greenhouse gas emission goals at U of M. They are active members of the Ann Arbor community. And I don't know if everyone knows this, but Ann Arbor is trying to achieve carbon neutrality. They've actually made that commitment publicly. And, you know, U of M is like a city within a city. They're going to be a big part of that. Looks like I've lost Gillian now. So just that's your note to you that you have frozen and went away.
Oh, back already.
Welcome back.
So the other category is coming up, right?
Yes. So let me get the screen advanced for her.
And 50% reduction for a striker. You know a lot about the striker building, don't you?
I have worked this building, not as much, but I have definitely worked with Stryker. What a cool company. I would call it, you know, we talk about the top-down approach, the bottom-up approach. They have both. Like everyone is on board with sustainability. I was involved with them way back in 2008, getting a lead for existing buildings on their Stryker medical building. I mean, that was before LEED was even online. Like we were literally doing paperwork to submit for LEED certification. So, you know, early adopters. This is their first year in battle too. Their green team got them involved in Battle of the Building. So again, just, you know, it was actually their representative, legal representative who first called us.
Yeah.
So you never really know how who's going to get involved and where your champions are. So it could be anyone within the building.
Congratulations, Stryker.
Yes.
And the place of worship category for this year was Harvard Churches at a 10% reduction. I love how Jeff had said in the next slide, you'll be able to see the building. They took advantage of an interior renovations that was happening anyway. But they were made sure to be wise about how the natural light and the natural airflow was happening within this renovation. And also, of course, they redid an LED parking lot, right? Which I'm sure they had no idea last year how instrumental that would be to services. Moving on to making sure people can meet and worship in 2020. So congratulations again. They won $1,000 savings after the renovation, and it has plenty of benefits to come. And, you know, congratulations. The retail category, Ballpark Floral is another alumni of the Energy Assistance Program. They're a family-owned and operated business, which, you know, is always close to a local lover's heart, right? Then after the Energy Assistance Program, they were able to see that the insulation needed to be added around to seal the envelope up on the roof and along the edge of the building envelope by where the garage would be there for the flowers to be added up into the vehicles to be taken away to the customers. And of course, I know so much about flowers, right? But what just like warmed my heart was that I was talking with their finance person, and she had said, you know, I knew that energy efficiency was important. And I'm like, okay, yeah. And she says, but, you know, this is like 8 months after the audit, right? And she says, in the last 8 months, we saved $1,000. And she's like, do you know how many bouquets we would have to sell to get $1,000? And I'm like, no, I have no idea. But congratulations. That's awesome.
I suppose that's the difference of whether that bouquet is daisies or roses too, right? But another thing I thought was really cool is that she talked about putting the savings back to their employee profit sharing and to donating to local nonprofits. So they want to be a leader. They want to be an example. Feel free to stop by, ask them about their project, buy a bouquet.
Boom.
All right, U of M again, first place for their School of Social Work in our new university category. And I didn't say this before, I wanted to say this, but you know, every year the categories can shift around, new categories can be created. We're constantly trying to, you know, adjust to the types of buildings that are involved in battle. So university is a new one for us this year. You know, we've talked before about the carbon reduction goals of U of M. And I know that in this building, they looked at scheduling changes chiller plant controls, and a compressed air audit, which I think is interesting because this building doesn't look like the type of building that might have compressed air. So surprise, surprise, right?
Yeah, I found that really interesting too. Way to go, U of M.
Mm-hmm.
The utility category is another new category this year. And the City of East Jordan, perhaps folks on the call remember the City of East Jordan spoke last week. And I love Kate's story because, as she had said, the City of East Jordan is just like, 2,300 residents, it's just in the pinky of Michigan, just this little guy. But Kate is like, and like Nancy Drew on the case, she saw that the wastewater treatment plant, it's aging infrastructure plus rising lake levels. They need to be able to make sure that their systems are not going to be overwhelmed by different weather changes or just by the natural state of how things are. And what she was able to find that the lift station, particularly on one side of the lake, was, as electricity, was much higher than the rest. And she was able to see that that means that that particular infrastructure was pumping much water than everyone else. And so from just zero cost on moderate and just monitoring it and making sure that she was able to see what there was, she was able to save $600 on just one lift station. And that contributes to the whole larger scheme of how to upgrade the infrastructure. I just love this story. Kate did a phenomenal job talking about it last week.
She does, and that $600 equivalent to work once all was done was $42,000 a year, and that is just an excellent steward of taxpayer dollars. There, that's all.
And on the panel discussion, a good steward of money.
Yeah, and so for our venue category this year, U of M wins with a 14.6% reduction at the Hill Auditorium, and they upgraded air handling units, added controls to those air handling units. This is a beautiful place. And
can you imagine?
Look at that packed room. First thing we all think is, where's their mask?
Yeah, I'd love to go into that building again eventually.
Right. Once we get back to normal, right?
Steel case, though. This one was an interesting story.
Yeah, it is. Steelcase is another one of those, been there since the beginning, like many of these competitors have. So I'm glad to see them in the winner's circle this year. Some cool things there. Eric was talking about one of the littlest things, and this goes to that communication and making sure everyone's on board. But one of the ways they saved this is to ensure that all their overhead doors were kept shut when they're not loading and unloading.
Yeah, just keep that building envelope tight. With such a huge warehouse, of course, that's going to make a difference. And also they did preventative maintenance on their leaky steam traps. And of course, guys, there's an incentive for that too. Make sure you don't miss an opportunity to get some cash. And also I loved that what Eric had emphasized was that there needs to be a constant communication between the workforce and the facilities, because the facilities needs to respond to whether or not folks' products are in the building, right? And of course, Steelcase is another announcement that was announced last week. Do you remember it?
Yes, I do. Carbon negative by 2030. I think that's the first, I could be wrong, but as far as I know, it's the first commitment to carbon negative. So we'll be watching them. It's going to be interesting to follow that. So the GM Heritage Center is our winner of the water category this year with a 91.3%. Wow, cool cars, unique cars. They have really high standards there for cleanliness and presentation. So the ways that they did this was they made sure that they were running full loads of laundry. I mean, it seems like a simple little thing, right? They changed the way they clean the facilities. They changed the way they clean the vehicles. What else did they do, Gillian? Didn't they do something in landscaping?
Yes, they did. It kind of fits well with John Bell's conversation, right? On making sure that your landscaping is appropriately taken care of, right? They were able to figure out ways to keep a manicured landscape without, just guzzling the water onto it. Paying more attention to literally the weather of the day. Congratulations again to Giem Heritage Center. I think it's a beautiful building and a great testament to the Michigan culture. And congratulations to all the losers of 2019. Everyone who have a award coming up, and everyone who has lost some energy. We're just so glad to have all of you as a part of the competition.
Yeah, and just don't forget to jump on over to that Michigan Battle of the Buildings exhibitor booth so you can watch those videos and actually hear their stories firsthand instead of secondhand from us. So now I think we're at the prize giveaway.
I know. This is always a really fun part at the end of the day when we're in person. As Dave Hines had said, that he misses it when we're all together, and we do too. However, we're still grateful to the Detroit Lions for being able to sponsor the prize giveaways that we have for you folks today.
Yes, and usually we're all enjoying a cocktail right now, right? We got Fred up on stage, and I'll never forget last year, the excitement, and it was fun, and I can't wait to do it again. I'm going wrong. I'm giving everything away.
Cherry, chill, we'll get to it. So the first prize we're giving away, if all y'all didn't read that screen too fast, well, okay, everyone knows is Kelly, but this is what Kelly's gonna get, okay? Okay, to bring everybody up on speed real quick. So we took the rosters from everyone who's been attending the sessions throughout the weeks, and we would put them into on the internet, a randomized generator. And for the sake of this presentation, we put them in a randomized generator and then put them on the PowerPoint. So because somebody was a little hasty, everyone knows that Kelly won this award. But
yeah, so Kelly Timmerman from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation is going to get the mini helmet autographed by Matthew Stafford. And after we're through with the prizes, we will get a hold of those prize winners so that we can get an address and get that sent to you.
Absolutely.
Prize number 2 is a night stay at the JW Marriott in downtown with complimentary valet parking. So as you know, this is normally where we have the Energy Summit. And so thank you to JW for donating this. I'm not sure what the opening and closing is with JW right now, but there's no expiration date.
Oh, thanks.
What's that?
I said there's no expiration date, and you said at the same time. So,
cool.
The randomized generator showed
Emily Pierce. Yes, Evergreen Consulting. So we'll hit you up afterwards, Emily, and we'll get your address. And I hope you enjoy that night at JW.
Yeah.
Odawa Casino. I know Dave's on the phone, on the call. I've seen him talking. I sent him a virtual hug, and he's great. And, you know, Odawa has been a great sponsor for us, and they've contributed a resort dinner, a dinner for 2 at the Grove and a night at the resort. I'm not sure Dave can comment if he wants to, but I think casinos are shut down right now. So
on this prize. And the building itself is just gorgeous. You know, take some time to really appreciate the Petoskey area because it's one of my favorite little spots in Michigan. So Who's the lucky winner, huh?
And the winner is Greg Eggleston from UIS Corp.
Congratulations, Greg. We'll be in contact with you for you to claim this prize.
Absolutely. And our final prize of today is a full-sized Detroit Lions helmet and also autographed by Matthew Stafford. So this is a pretty cool one. In fact, we gave one of these away last year too. Remember that? And my husband came to the Energy Summit early on, and I didn't think we were going to get it out of his hands.
He was really enthusiastic about this. So congratulations to whoever the winner is.
Absolutely, which is Trisha DeMarco with Spalding D. Decker.
Boom, 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 boom.
That's awesome. Yeah, my husband will deliver it. Ha ha.
No, he won't. But we'll get it sent to you once you get the information to us. And apparently, Matthew Stafford's signature is pretty special. I remember telling my brother, and he's like, "You what?" Like, oh, okay. I didn't realize. But I'm outing myself not as a football fan, so I apologize to everybody on the call.
Yeah, congratulations to everyone. This has been great. I just want to, again, we want to thank you. Thank you for spending time with us today. Thank you to our sponsors, our fantastic exhibitors. The speakers today were phenomenal. Gillian, you were great dealing with your cutout of internet. Most of all, the competitors, right? Like, you for continuing to make Battle such a fun competition, such a great event. Even if we do have to do it at a distance this year, we'll keep our hopes up for next year. And if we have to push it back a little from April because we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, then that's what we'll do so that we can all be together. And
thank you everybody for reducing your energy use and contributing to a greener Michigan, because that's what this is all about.
It is.
So folks, expo session, don't miss it. The networking, I'll see you there. And
yeah,
get a hold of us if you want to hear more, if you want to make some comments, if you want to talk with us. We miss you. We can't wait to talk to you guys again. But in the meantime, go have fun. I'll see you guys in networking, okay?
Yeah. See you there.
Thank you.
Bye.
Happy